Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic, debate, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. First of all, I want to say that I apologize. I promise you guys I won't be making a lot of Clippers content this season, but please bear with me. I need to discuss this one. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Well, as you guys know, I've been a long-time Kawhi Leonard supporter, but Kawhi and the Clippers have disappointed me to the point where this is just becoming abusive at this point. And I said, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of the disappointment. I'm tired of the frustration. I'm just going to rest from the Clippers for a little bit. So as you guys know, yesterday was media day. And a lot of people spoke. And one of the people I was most interested in hearing from was Kawhi Leonard and his current status in terms of his health coming into this season. He spoke about it. They're going to be ramping him up. So nothing really new with Kawhi, to be quite honest with you. But there was an elephant in the room. And what was the elephant in the room? It had to do with the biggest subtraction from the roster this offseason, which was Paul George. Paul George left the Clippers. They didn't offer him apparently the amount of money he was seeking, and he decided to go get a supermax deal with the Philadelphia 76ers, where I think he got a 4-year, $200 million contract. Good for him. He's making his money. And as I was listening to Kawhi in the press conference, I knew at a certain point, they were going to ask him to touch on what it's going to be like without Paul George, because some people may be thinking, man, Paul is gone. What's Kawhi Leonard going to do? Blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And in typical Kawhi Leonard fashion, he basically said, yeah, we going to be all right. Like, I don't need nobody coming here to save me. But before we even get into what my man Kawhi Leonard had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, GameTime. With only 4 months left until the end of the year, I look forward to creating special moments with family and friends by attending various theaters, shows, plays, and sporting events. And when it comes time for me to look for tickets, I absolutely love to use GameTime. GameTime is one of the most reliable marketplaces for last-minute tickets to the most popular events in sports, music, and theater in more than 60 cities across the United States and Canada. GameTime saves me money, time, and peace of mind, so I don't have to sort through thousands of tickets looking for the best prices or worry about whether or not if they're authentic or whether I'm going to receive them on time. GameTime Picks, one of my favorite GameTime tools, analyzes thousands of tickets for all of your favorite events near your location and finds you the best possible deal so you don't have to. For example, I'm looking forward to this upcoming concert at Madison Square Garden of one of my favorite composers, Hans Zimmer. Here, I can select the all-in price to see the total ticket price up front, no hidden fees. And now I can sort through the best possible deals I can find. I can choose the cheapest deals, the great deal, or the amazing deal. Once you select the ticket you want, you can use their panoramic seat view to ensure you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. And if you're like me and always make plans at the last minute, you can grab tickets up to 90 minutes after the event has started. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and use redeem code CLNS for $20 off. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what he had to say. It's a very short clip. I want you guys to listen to him here, and I'm going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Kawhi here.
And Kawhi, when you came over here, you always had your sidekick in Pete, who's no longer here. Do you feel like there's more added pressure to you going into the season, knowing that you don't have him here as a sidekick anymore to be available to help this team get to where they're trying to go?
No, not really. He obviously made things easier on the court for players, but as far as my mental focus going into a game, I don't feel like it's going to be harder for me personally. I didn't look at, for anybody I'm on the court with, I don't look at him to be my savior. I take in my own role and my challenges that I have to face each and every game, and going there and trying to dominate the game. So I don't think. With that being said, my mindset is going to change in that way.
So you heard what Kawhi Leonard had to say, basically saying he's not dependent on no damn Paul George. Now, I want to talk about Paul George's departure and the partnership of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Paul George is obviously a very talented basketball player, very, very skilled, great two-way player. We all know this. But as someone that has observed Paul George over the last 5 seasons, Paul George is not someone you can count on when it comes to the playoffs. I'm not saying this because I'm hating on Paul George. I'm saying it based on things that I have seen. Paul George can be very, very streaky in the playoffs. So Kawhi, I think, understands that and realizes that, look, I would rather depend more on myself than depend on somebody else, number one. Number two, last season when they had all four of those guys, Paul, Westbrook, Harden, and Kawhi, I thought that was way too many chefs in the kitchen. And the offense now became, what is it? I forgot the term I'm trying to say. Basically, you shoot, I shoot, you shoot, I shoot, you shoot, I shoot. And I hated that. The reason I hated that was because it gave the impression that all of these players were equal, when in reality they weren't. There was clearly a best player on the floor, which was Kawhi, so I thought the offense should have ran through him primarily. And then you'd have Paul George and James Harden, and then you have Russell Westbrook. The moment they decided to put Russell Westbrook off the bench, bring him to the bench, you started to see the team gain some success. So I didn't like that, and clearly did not work, right? But let's get back to Paul George. I'm going to give you guys some key information here, right? Because there's a reason why I don't feel so bad about Paul George leaving. Now, is he a 20-plus point per game scorer? Yes. Are they going to miss that? Yes. But ultimately, I think they'll be fine without him. Now, let's go back to the year when they blew that 3-1 lead in the Orlando bubble. I don't have the individual games, but I'm just going to give you the numbers. That playoffs, all right, that was Kawhi Leonard's first year with the Clippers. He was averaging in the playoffs 28.2 points per game on 49% shooting from the field, 33% shooting from the three-point line, 86% shooting from the free throw line, getting you 9.3 rebounds, 5.5 assists, with 2.3 steals and almost a block per game. Excellent numbers. The next year was even, his next year's numbers were just absolutely insane, right? But those were his numbers through that 13-game stretch. Let me give you Paul George's numbers through that stretch. In the same 13 games, Paul George was scoring 20 points per game, and his scoring average actually dropped, right? He was shooting 40% from the field. 40. So Paul George's points per game went down from the regular season. His shooting percentage went down in the regular season. His three-point shooting was shooting 33%. The only thing that improved that year was his free throw shooting. In the playoffs that year, he shot 91%. In the regular season, let me give you guys some context. That first year, Paul George was averaging 21.5 points per game on 44% shooting. His scoring dropped by 1.5 points. His field goal shooting percentage dropped by 4 percentage points. His three-point shooting went from 41% to 33%. Okay, to 33%. And then his free throw shooting was good, getting you 6 rebounds, 3.8 assists. But if you watch those games individually, Paul George would just be disappearing all over the floor. He was just a disappearing act. And then what ended up happening in that series was Kawhi was playing perfect all throughout the playoffs. And then what happened? Paul, who had been having bad games all throughout the playoffs, in Game 7, they both had bad games. And that was the series. That was a series. The Clippers could ill afford to have both of them have a bad game, and that happened. But every single other night, Paul George was having a bad game. Why am I bringing this up? The reason I'm bringing it up is that I never got over that, and I don't feel confident in Paul George that if going into another playoff run, he won't start disappearing again. So it's like, try something different. Is Paul George a great player? Absolutely. But I think Kawhi saw what everybody else saw. So I think that's the reason why he's like, look, I think I'll be all right. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about what Kawhi Leonard had to say? Do you think it's fair? Do you see what he's saying? Or do you think, no, the Clippers are going to miss Paul George dearly? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We'll catch you guys on the next show. Peace.